Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be motivated by your host, Reverend John Wheeler! Now shut up! You shut up! Sit down! Shut up! Shut up!
Well, looky what we have here. Just a normal podcast. Yeah, I was really hoping to come up with something completely deranged to say, but I do like that. I could say that we have a new set. That's not true because see, the podcast / green screen / film studio / secondary bar is just in my basement, and it's full of all kinds of weird junk that I enjoy rearranging into different angles and stuff to make interesting backgrounds. And down here is where my live show sort of sampler keyboard laptop stand thing that lets us help me drill a neon cross into the front. Because I didn't just want to use a normal keyboard stand, like with some things. Like I could have done the whole, I have a couple of double keyboard stands. I could have had like a laptop and then a little keyboard plugged into it, underneath it and been like whatever. But we found this like black metal like speech podium that you can put things on and then also drill holes in and attach neon lights onto or whatever. So I'm like, it might be fun if that's just kind of in between us on the black background. It makes it look important. It makes it look like a video from The Weeknd or maybe Chromeo or, some sort of shitty drive-through Vegas marriage thing. And I know that I do encourage people to listen to the podcast on the listenable things because, YouTube is a fickle mistress and it's difficult. But I also, I would be, remiss in not having a YouTube version because I have videos set up that I can do in my sleep. And, people want to watch me smoke CBD while I recover from COVID and cough my lungs up. It really makes people feel like they are part of the action. So I'm trying to think of what we should get to first here. I think that I've had an eventful week, and I went over to my friend Bernard's house, and he has a golf cart that we rode around in. And I've ridden around in golf carts, and like Jake has one of those, those like more like hick things. They're like golf carts top out at 20, but then there's kind of those it's motor
like a gator.
Yeah, it's like for riding around on your roughshod property, but it goes like 60 miles an hour, and it's like a horrifically bad idea. Yeah, it's a gator. And I've ridden in that, but the weird thing is as fast as that does go, it feels a touch more stable than just like a lithium ion, like a straight up golf cart, like a straight up purely electrical thing. And like, he's got like a boat and stuff. So it made sense where it was like, okay, well, he'll have that so we can get from the house over to where the boat is. It's a schlep. Like, let's say you got a cooler full of Lunchables and beer and stuff for the kids and whatever. And you're like, well, we could trudge all the way down here, or we could ride in this electrical death trap down the hill as fast as it goes. And by the way, it does go up to 20, and I think we hit like 10, and I feared for my life. Like, there is an oh shit handle, and apparently there are seat belts, which I found out about after we were done. But I will even say, I believe in the power and the safety of seat belts, but I think a fast, dangerous electric golf cart is one of those things where you almost don't... You'd rather be thrown clear. Like, people say that about cars, and it's like, no, it's just going to kill you. But the golf cart, yeah, maybe. Like, you might want to be able to be like, oh, we hit, like, black ice. I'm just going to jump out of this thing and take my chances rolling across the ground. And if it flips end over end and collapses, like, whatever... I'll be safe. So the seatbelt would hinder my ability to leap to safety like James Bond. And so, despite the fact that I was unaware that it even had them, I may, had I known about them, chosen to not wear them. Anyway. And it was good to talk to Bernard. He's the friend I've had for the longest amount of time. We met in kindergarten. And it was interesting because, like, one of the It was the house he had before this one, but I was over there. And he has a daughter named, well, I'll leave his daughter's name out of it. But she's, they him and his wife have a daughter. And when I first met his daughter, she was getting ready to go into kindergarten. It was like late August or something like that. I was just over there hanging out. She was picking cherry tomatoes out of the neighbor's yard or something and bringing them to me, and I was eating them. And I was like, I had this wistful moment of like, hey, do you realize that like in a few weeks she'll be the exact age, like when she starts kindergarten, that you and I met? And it was like one of those like, oh yeah, shit. That's interesting. But I was over there again and I saw her. And, it was years later now, so she was in like 7th grade. And now I'm just like, she didn't remember me from that, obviously. I'm just one of your dad's friends with a mustache and a Hawaiian shirt. That just, it's like some strange. I accept the fact that all I am to some people is a bizarre imprint of a childhood memory of some like nice old man with a mustache and like a paisley shirt being like, hey, I met you when you were real little. I've been friends with your dad. Just like, okay. And that's it. Because we all know people like that in our memory banks. And I find it to be like a nice comforting part of the Lion King circle of life to be like, oh, yeah, I am that random like memory of just some guy your dad knew, like standing in the driveway talking about weed whackers. It's like, yeah, that's me to some people. I've lived like a wild and crazy life. And then you get into that weird thing where you're like, wow, do you think that like every like guy with like a jean jacket and a mullet that my dad was friends with when I was a kid, like also was like, he was in a bunch of rock bands and he like went to Japan once and like killed a guy. And it's like, holy shit, like just stuff I would never have known because, that's just some guy with a mustache talking to your dad about like, homeowners insurance and property tax. As well, you're like running around throwing rocks at geese or whatever. And you're like, oh, you don't realize though that this person was like, it's like, oh yeah, he escaped to Argentina after World War II and your dad met him working for IBM. Like, I mean, what? Like, yeah, I don't know whatever happened to him. And you just brush it off like, And it's like, maybe my story's not that exciting, but compared to like, I don't know, what like a modern kid now, it's like, who is that guy daddy was talking to? It's like, he's a real piece of work. Like, yeah. No, that's old Reverend John Wheeler. Is he a real reverend at a church? Like, it's complicated. And I love being that to somebody else. A footnote in someone else's story that is also probably a really scary story that is proof that every single human interaction is just a 7 billion deep Russian nesting doll of infinite universes and experiences and stuff. It's terrifying, really. But I don't mind. I hate that this... Why is this telling me this while the internet is off? There we go. Whatever. I like the way this looks. We're not selling it on. It's just such a weird thing where the aesthetics of it doesn't matter, and I'm gonna do it different next week anyway. I'm gonna be like, it's dumb, or like the cross burnt out, or I don't like that white wire coming out of there. Like, who knows? I'll have some reason. But I think the main thrust of this podcast is. So, I've been releasing music again, for better or for worse. I do think that it's perhaps, some of the better music I've done recently. Because I had a nice long break when I realized, it's like, I don't really want to be in bands anymore. But it's not because I don't like music. It's just because of the functionality of that whole thing. It's like, it's just so much to do. And I like the idea of being kind of an electronic music producer guy. Well, because it's made me more money than being in rock bands ever has. But it's rude to talk about money in polite company such as yourself. But, also just purely the fact that you have so much more freedom. And it's not that it's like, oh, we have to appease some guitar player's ideas, which also, is a problem. But, it's like someone wants to collaborate. You can be like, well, I'll just have you on this song. Be like, well, how are you going to do it live? Like, well, maybe this one doesn't happen live. Or maybe I do a remix of it live that's super different and just doesn't really have your version on it. And it just turns into this long, weird sort of electronic jam session thing. And it's, but it still exists. It's still part of the whole thing. I don't know. It's so much more fluid. And you can makes it easier to kind of more casually work with more other people rather than, obsessively and deeply work with just a couple people. And that's kind of the cool thing about it.
It does leave a lot of room for creativity.
And that's important because apparently that's something I'm good at. I am an absolute master of every single thing that doesn't pay very well. It's like, do you know how to code or do architecture things? I'm like, I'm a fucking great video editor and a pretty good audio mixer, and I'm really great at writing songs. Like, cool, all the things most other people just do as hobbies. I'm glad you're an expert at those. But then again, some of those people that do it as a bit of an obsessive hobby will hire me, so I don't know what I'm bitching about. Hanging around with too many millionaires lately, I guess. And if you think this is about you, it's shocking how many others there are. I love being the loser now. It's actually kind of great. Like, you know, I'm not sleeping outside. But, you know, you get into your 40s and, like, some of your friends start doing all sorts of different weird stuff. And you're like, I didn't even know that was an option. Fuck. Interesting, though, getting to listen to people talk. But yeah, so I released that song, The Black Moon Rising. It's been out for a little bit now. And, right, it's been a fascinating duality of, like, okay, like, everyone I know loves it. Like, even people I haven't talked to in forever, people that have nothing to really do with, like, the music scenes that I've been involved in, or ones that have been, and then are, like, but have not really cared what I've been doing for a long time, suddenly are interested again. But it was, like, doing comedy last Monday, and Andy came up to me, and you know, Andy's a bit of an introvert at times, but he still was able to kind of be like, you need to do just more of this, please. Like, he went out of his way to yell that at me at the table Alexis and I were sitting at. So I'm like, okay, so you know, Andy likes it. That's good. All right, I've smoked this down to the butt. Like, somebody
shared that music video, and then Andy liked it. And I was like,
yeah. No, Andy, you know, and I think Andy kind of enjoys that you know, I do comedy and I'm his friend, but that, you know, it's like kind of the musical background makes it slightly more interesting than perhaps your average Joe comedian that's kind of like, oh, I just I don't know, I got like a telemarketing job and started like trying to do comedy, and I've just been doing that for like 15 years, where I kind of like started a little older, but I did also come out of some other stuff that the crossover is kind of interesting. And I do get that. If you were someone who is deep in one game, you know, talking to someone that has a bit of a pedigree in a different game, being like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, it's not just the same story of someone who's like, yeah, I just wear this hoodie with holes in it and tell jokes about weed. Like, it's like, all right, well, you know, variety's the spice of life. But, so, the thing is, though, is that, like, back in the day, I used to have this momentum of being in these live bands that, like, people would like. They'd play, like, these all-ages shows. Like, kids would be into it. And the internet was way more of a Wild West. And it's interesting being at the exact age that I'm at, where it's like I grew up with no internet, but then, like, the late 90s and early 2000s, I grew up with the Wild West internet when I was starting to be, you know, by 2001 or 2, I was, like, 21. You know, I'm like, okay, so, like, I was a bit of an adult, and I was able to use things like MySpace to get the kind of attention you would have had to have paid a record label to go to all these, like, you know, radio stations and stuff. You could just do that without that. And you know, and those very things that would shut out all my crazy ideas, I could just push them through, and, like, the kids would like it, you know, because they weren't really connected to radio and stuff. So you're able to, like, jump the rope a little, the velvet rope. You're able to kind of bust your way in using the old school Wild West internet as sort of a cheat code almost. And that really was, like, a big piece of a lot of my quote unquote music career for a while, is that, you know, like, I may not have made a ton of money, but I played in front of, like, several hundred people a lot of times when a lot of people would have been playing in front of the sound guy, because I figured out, like, oh, this is how we should do this. And, you know, it gave me a bit of a crash course in psychology and marketing and stuff that I use for non-musical things to this very day. You know, like, back in the day, SMB had that t-shirt that was just, like, the word you with, like, a circle and a line through it. And it's like the kids that just bought that to wear to school. I mean, it was, you could not even, I was at, like, you know, like, punk rocky kind of bar restaurants, like, around the country where we'd played. I've noticed that, like, oh, they have one of our stickers on the cash register. They just cut our name out from around it and just kept the logo because they liked it. So they didn't think we were Indian cool enough or whatever. And fine, fuck them. That's just how everybody is. I don't like that you're doing something that tiny bit sounds like nu metal or is popular. It's like, I want to hear a guy with like 80 guitar pedals who's like experiencing his soul through echoes and delay. So it's like, but I also hate my job, so I'm going to put the No You logo on this cash register, but then cut your name off of it. 'Cause it's just like you're just one of those internet mindless self-indulgence things. I don't fucking not going to lose my cool points card thanks to you. So yeah, whatever. Or however your dumbass thought, I'm talking to you. It's funny. It's like, that sounds bitter, but I'm probably like closer to the mark than you might guess. Anywho. Yeah, so I kind of got an idea of like what riled people up, and I had a way to get things to them. But the weird thing is that now, in this foul year of our Lord, 2022, I made something that, everyone I showed it to, like, truly enjoyed. They're like, the song is good, the video is good, they pair really well together, and I'm like, kick ass. Everyone loves this. No one's like, Like, everyone's like, this is dope as hell. It's fresh. It's new. It's great. It's awesome. And I put it on our little YouTube channel, that has almost 500 subscribers. It doesn't have like 11. Like, it's something, right? And I put it on Facebook, and I did all these things. And it has like 78 or 83 views on there, like, after a week. And it's like, and again, and I've talked about this last time. It's like, yeah, it's just nothing. And it's like, but I know that I'm going to have to do some work, and I know that I'll have to spend some money or whatever in order to get it anywhere, because we do live now in a time where no one goes viral for free. Like, they make sure of that. Like, you have to have either paid your dues or paid some money or something. Like, you can't just go, this is phenomenal. It'll just grow its own legs and it'll get recommended to people via the algorithm. It's just, whatever. That just doesn't. You're not allowed to do that. Or if I was like a beautiful 19-year-old boy, it'd be like, look at me, like, I made this thing, and everyone's like, oh, it's so good. And it's like, I'm an ugly, horrible, awful, grouchy old man, like Merlin from the Sword and the Stone. That's my fate, and I understand, and that's okay. But I was doing some research, like, well, what do you do? Like, I understand that you could pay for advertisements and stuff, and again, it's more worthwhile to do that if you have a product everyone likes. Well, then sure. If they just put cornflakes on like one store shelf in middle America, I don't know if it would have taken off. They paid, Sterling Cooper to advertise cornflakes, and then everybody learned that they wanted to eat them by the bowlful. Like, you got to do that. There's a reason that stuff exists. However, one of the things that I ran across, this is like a long preamble to like the point I'm eventually getting to here. One of the things I ran across is that if you like, they're like, oh yeah, submit it to like playlists, like try to figure out what the genre is and see if someone who has a playlist in your genre will accept it, whatever, like that. And also, I got to give a shout out, an old friend of mine, Jimmy Don, who I met. He runs this thing called Sick Fucks. It's SIKFUX, I think. Sick Fucks, or SICFUX, I think. Now that I'm not looking at it, I'm not 100% sure. But he actually, like, in the world of things like Twisted or, like evil rap. Like, he deals a lot in evil rap and has artists signed to his label. And he has a podcast. And, to put it in perspective what his podcast is, I look back a couple weeks and his guest was Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. So it's like, okay, like that's... He's got, inroads to other kind of wild artists and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm just saying, like, if you don't know who this is, look up Sick Fucks. It's legit. And I know that, like everybody, runs their mouth about some kind of, this thing it's a real deal. It's cool. And it's like, yeah, nobody cares. But, Jimmy runs a thing that has, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of moving and shaking going on there. And, earlier today, I had asked him, like, hey, this thing I made, it's like a little bit closer to like rap, kind of, like, it's not exactly what you deal in or whatever, but, where would you promote this or whatever? And he was kind enough to be like, oh, I'll put it on my channel and I'll do a little of this and that. And here's the thing, like, you're throwing it on your weird channel with podcasts and music and goofs on it and stuff. And it doesn't, it just the algorithm, it's just not gonna he's like, I can see people liking this, it's like, it's dope, it's cool, but you don't have the, what is that, the framework, the structure, the something.
I think frameworks, right?
Yeah, you don't have that. And I'm like, that's true. Because I didn't even, like everything we're doing here, even, like, it's like a podcast. I used to make goof videos and whatever. It's kind of schizophrenic. And it's like, it's not just like, but, I've been trying to do like music and bands for so long. I didn't want to start another YouTube channel that's based around that. But then I kind of caught the bug again. So, I admit it's a little flimsy, but he's like, oh yeah, mine's got like 110,000 subscribers. I'll just throw it on mine and hopefully some will come to yours. And I'm like, well, that's fucking really nice of you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you believe in what I'm doing. Glad we're still in contact. Yeah, the world makes sense sometimes and it's real good. But that was like a very positive thing that happened that I just didn't want to leave out of this story. It doesn't really forward this part of the story exactly, but I just want to give a shout out. But one thing that I kept finding was like, if you're trying to get your music on playlists and things, like Spotify playlists are like that's like the new MTV. Like, if you want to really get connected to things, you have to play a little bit of ball. And one of them was like, do a modern cover. All right. You might draw some people in from the search algorithm via your cover. And if it's in the style that you're doing, you pick a song that it's popular and you do it in your own style, and then people are like, I like this, and there's like a bit higher of a chance they might click on your other stuff. So I decided to pull my Facebook friends, be like, all right, and I made some rules. Like, I want some ideas of a song to cover, and I have to be like, but listen to me, listen. Like, for one, okay, imagine you've heard Black Moon Rising, right? It's like this industrial rap trap thing, kind of, and it's like, whatever. Like, whatever you're thinking of, you have to imagine that it can be covered like that. Also, it needs to be a pop song, kind of. And, pop could be anything. Like, Avenged Sevenfold is pop, like, but like Nine Inch Nails makes pop songs. I'm not talking, it doesn't just have to be Call Me Maybe or whatever. When I say pop, it could be that, but I don't necessarily mean that. I just mean something in a format that has like a countable number of chords in it, not something that has like 50 jazz chords in it, or like, the worst thing is everyone always recommends show tunes. They're like, oh, this like Tim Burton Disney, this 10-minute long thing that has like 5 key changes in it and like 10 different characters singing. It's like, do that. Like, no, that's gonna suck. Like, it's gonna be a shit ton of work and it won't be good. And if you're like, well, there's no evidence that that's the case. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I give you Marilyn Manson's cover of This Is Halloween. It's fucking bad. And it's not like, well, Marilyn Manson's bad because women. Yeah, no. He used to be run by, like, Trent Reznor. It was good. Don't retcon it. You can go, I don't like it now because the artist has done things that I don't agree with, although you should probably, like, in the words of Bill Hicks, take all those records that you grew up listening to that changed your life forever and burn them, because all those artists real not into consent. No, he said real high on drugs. But look, I'm not forgiving anybody for that, but honestly, it's like, maybe I still listen to old Michael Jackson because I love Quincy Jones, and we haven't found out about the bad things he's done yet. Notice I didn't say he hasn't done anything, because, I mean, what are the odds? Fame is a hell of a drug. They don't pay you a lot, but everyone wants to, like, sit in your lap. What, are you going to not do that when you're, like, 23? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, Marilyn Manson's a bad man, but here's the thing. That cover of This Is Halloween, it's terrible, because the music like that can't be done with, like, a couple of weird distorted synth lines and a guitar and like a drummer. It's like dun, 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 dun. You're like, oh, that's fun, and then it just keeps going for 11 minutes and it's boring and it's terrible. Everybody scream, oh, the town of Halloween. It just goes. It's like, you can't. Like, I'm not gonna make a Ghost Main sounding cover of something from Hamilton or the casita. What the fuck is the What's the Disney film with the magic house?
Encanto?
Encanto, yeah. Do I love every single song from, we don't talk about Bruno, but it's not going to work. There's like key changes and chords. Like it's operatic. It's like playing a Dream Theater song and going like, I want like Snoop Dogg to rap over it. Snoop Dogg's just going to get bored and leave halfway through. Like don't do that to Snoop Dogg. He's a good guy. He deserves better. He's a Price is Right champion. He coaches Little League. He's a phenomenal rapper. Don't make him cover a Dream Theater song. That's you being a bad person. That's what that is. But anyhow, so I was like, yeah, give me ideas. Like, not stuff that's 40 fucking years old. Like, I appreciate that a lot of people were like, play a Depeche Mode cover. Probably sound good. I could probably do a pretty good Faith No More cover. Yes, that's true. But honestly, it was the people who were like, oh, do Juice from Lizzo, where I was like, I didn't think of that. Because it has to be something with like 50 million views from now that the kids like, that isn't from a Disney movie or something that's like opera. Like, I'm not gonna, that's not happening. And so the secondary portion of this is that I was like, all right, so I got a lot of interaction on that and a lot of ideas. And so what I wanted to do, and this is something I very much need Bill's help with because, frankly, I'm drunk and I don't like paying attention to things or focusing while I'm yelling on this podcast. I want to just go.
I mean, that's why I'm here.
And that is why Bill's here. So, rather than me like writing down everyone's name and their suggestion that I'm going to verily shit on, Bill will look it up. Bill will tell me. And I will rate them. I will rate them. We'll do like a hot or not. I won't do one. No, wait. Let's do like a 1 through 10.
I have also been loading up the YouTube to see if it fits your other parameters because you listed multiple parameters, and we can go through those and see who paid attention.
Well, and a lot of them, I think I'll be able to. It's good that you have that, but I think I'll be able to tell without looking it up necessarily. Right. Be like, hey, this is again. I said. From sometime in the last 5 years, something that people actually listen to, something that has, I think I said every chord past the 5th chord change, it drops 20% in the likelihood. So, like, if it has 10 chords in it, like, do I like the Beach Boys? Yes. But we're talking about good vibrations. It's like 8,000. No wonder Charles Manson tried to kill that guy. Like, there's so much happening, it's just infuriating. And I'm like, I'm not going to try to recreate it. I'll listen to it while I'm doing acid and thinking about Charles Manson, but, like, I'm not going to cover it. Like, that's just too much. Like, no. And it's all on the guitar. The worst instrument ever. But anyway, I don't know how to exactly go through this.
Should we just go through, like, in the order which they were recommended?
Yeah, you know what?
Easiest way.
Let's do that.
All right.
I'll tilt this a tiny bit so we can hear you a little bit.
Okay, David Dunkerson.
David Dunkerson.
Recommended Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
And I gotta say, for the very first recommendation, that's pretty good. Because I forgot that The Weeknd existed and how much I like The Weeknd. And how much, like, that song is like an 80s song. And then, I'm doing kind of a modern, the modern refresh version of like an industrial, goth, grindy, weird thing. And it's like what happened in the mid to late 90s all the time. There'd be like these like kind of industrial, like Sweet Dreams, Marilyn Manson covering the Eurythmics or whatever. So it's like me doing some sort of, again, like, bizarre Death Grips version of what is ostensibly an 80s song, even though it was made much more recently, might be very organic. That might be the way to go, and then it might get some clicks, and people are like, why is this guy ruining this fun song by being like, and I'm like, well, it worked in 1995, so I'm going to try it again. So honestly, Mr. Dunkerson, pretty good suggestion, 10 out of 10, which means I probably don't even need to look at the rest of them. Maybe that's just what I'm going to do. But hey, you never know where pirate gold is hidden. So let's keep moving on this list.
All right. Chase Matthews recommended Lizzo, The Juice.
Juice. I got the yeah, and that that was a good suggestion. Chase, by the way, is was my manager. I think the last actual payroll job I ever had in like 2009 at the Best Buy guitar store in the Mall of America, and it was weird because the rest of Best Buy worked on, I don't know, the opposite of a meritocracy. It's like, oh well, you finally sold enough VCRs where you get to be like in charge of other people. It's like, does he have any people skills? It's like, he's sold enough VCRs like that. It's like he's signed up enough people for a new cell phone plan. Now he's in charge. Like they absolutely did it like that. Where it's like, well, I mean, yeah, his numbers are good. I'm like, does that mean he understands how to deal with like anything he's now in charge of? Like, I didn't see you signing that many people up for a cell phone plan. Like, okay, fine. However, the little guitar store was bizarrely for a couple years there, and then they started running it differently, and then, it went away. That's funny. Yeah, it just the bottom fell out of it. But it was like, for some reason, like the best musician just ended up being, so it's like me and Turf from SMB and this guy named Steve Grisdale, who was this British dude that played the drums in the Chanhassen Dinner Theater, like for Jesus Christ Superstar and stuff, because he was from Liverpool and he met his wife here, who was a dancer on the cruise ship that he played drums on, and she lived here, so we moved here. So he fell in love and they had a child. And then he needed health insurance, though, so he couldn't just play at a dinner theater. He also had to like work at Best Buy. Steve Grisdale, great guy. He looks like he should only have one tooth and play rugby, but he has all of his teeth. So it's like he has some doppelganger in another dimension that's like a rugby player or something. But yeah, anyway, though, Chase was like a complex jazz like guitar player. Like he was like, so he got to be the boss. It's like, well, he knows more about music than you and Turf and your industrial metal band and like this British bulldog that is a phenomenal drummer, but he's only a drummer. See, Chase plays acoustic guitar jazz, and that's, in the hierarchy of music means that he's your boss at this thing. And he moved to like Colorado. I visited him. I think Alexis met him. We were in Denver a while back at True Brewery, like TRVU. It's like this like satanic brew pub that I bought t-shirts from. I've been there more than once. And we were there, and he was there, and we were drinking beer and talking shit. And then we still talk. So, like, he's like, do Juice from Lizzo. And that is kind of a good idea. That is the kind of thing where it's like a simple enough, I mean, there's obviously subtlety going on. I'm not ragging on Lizzo's musical chops or anything, but, again, it's not a rock opera. It's a pop song. So it's like, I could do that. And Lizzo's from here. So that's like a good choice. It's very astute. If Chase is listening, and that's again why I'm trying to trick people into listening by including everyone from my Facebook post, but they're gonna be like, John mentioned you, and they'll be like, what? And then they'll listen to the wrong episode and be like, all he did was talk about like the SSRIs he was on. Like, what? And they're like, oh, it's a later one. The one about the AI? No, later than that. Keep going. Or whatever, because who knows? Because I'm going to name this.
Listen to all of them. You'll find it.
Yeah, listen to them all, starting from the end and going backwards. Don't start at the beginning, because the quality was lower. I mean, look how good this looks. It looks like an Arcade Fire video or something. We're on point.
Killing it.
Mm-hmm. So then, all right, what's next?
Jeremy Blake recommended Wild Side. Now,
that is fun, because Jeremy Blake's a friend, and one time his metal band... DE. Hang on a sec. Sorry, Jeremy. I kind of started drinking a few hours ago. What does it stand for? DE. It's a band that we just share practice space with them. I am this drunk, just to be honest, or just to be clear. John Wheeler's super drunk is like, sometimes it's hard to tell, and then you're like, why can't... Dynamic Euphoria. No. Do Euphoria? I'm thinking of Manic Euphoria. It's fucking me up. Anyway, yeah.
Find his like.
Yeah, let's find it. That'll be funny. Like a thing that I should know, like completely. Dying Euphoria. Okay, that's it. It was Dying Euphoria.
Fantastic. So,
yeah, sorry. I should have, because like I have such a history with them. As a matter of fact, I sang a song for them once. Again, a little bit pre-COVID, they had a bit of a reunion, and they had to have a couple of people get together to be their singers. One was Vince from Nuisance and whatever. And this was fun, by the way. They asked me, we do a cover of Wild Side by Motley Crue. And we end with it, and it's fun. And it was funny because Vince, God bless you, and then the other guy that was singing for him were like I had to learn like all of you guys' deep cuts, and then John Wheeler just gets to wander in drunk and sing the Motley Crue song at the end, and everyone's favorite thing, that's how it goes sometimes. It's as long as your standards are unbelievably low, it's pretty great to be me occasionally. So yeah. And I take a walk on the wild side. Was out there belting it out and wrecking my vocal cords. But, he brought that up because, reasonably so, both him and I are like home recording people at this point. And it's like, we should probably just enshrine that cover. With them, probably just mostly Jeremy and program drums or whatever, whatever we're going to do with me screaming the lyrics and just, have that be its own thing. Little fun project together, and I'm way into that. So I had to learn all the lyrics, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do that good of a Vince Neil, but yeah, if you there's a YouTube video of me doing that with them, and even I'm shocked because I was like, there's no way I was doing that good. But it was like a baby cries, a cop dies, at full volume, that had a whole scream sing thing. I was doing it pretty good. I was like, okay, yeah, this sounds legit. It was at the place that used to be the Rock. Now it's the Doghouse in Maplewood. The sound system was very good, so I was like, okay, this came off, and it was fun. So Jeremy, that's kind of a runner-up prize because it doesn't really have anything to do with what I was asking, but I think, you should listen to this just to hear your own name, because that's what we do. And then we should do that thing you suggested, because I think it would be fun, and I don't think it would be a ton of work. But I'm going to make you come to me because you know what I do? I get so fucking busy, I forget what I'm doing. And occasionally I don't get that busy, and still I forget what I'm doing. So that happens. All right, what do we got next?
Brad Birch. He recommended People Are People from Depeche Mode.
Now, that is a good suggestion, but I'm going to have to make a secondary category here. That's a good artistic suggestion. I don't know that, YouTube's algorithm is going to go funnel people into anything of it's a Depeche Mode cover. But I do... That's a thing. If only I had all the time in the world. I do think I could absolutely slaughter that, people are people, so why should it be? You and I treat each other awfully. It's a cool song. And I am a fan of Depeche Mode. And so, but, it's from, the 80s. And the reason that the thing I was just talking about, 80s covers made a bunch of people's careers. But you got to remember, it made them in the 90s. So these songs were 10 years old. So it's like me covering a song from The Weeknd. It's a little less than 10 years old. It's more in the pocket of, again, Manson covering Sweet Dreams. It's I do believe Sweet Dreams was 84 from the Eurythmics and 95 from it. So it was 11 years, which as a grown up, I'm oh, that's not that long. It's not like me doing covering Whip It from Devo, which is from 6 months before I was born. So it's 42 years old. It's yeah, it's cool, but no one cares. I care. It's great, but it's not look, I made it very clear in my question. I wasn't what fun covers should I do live when I do this live? Blah, blah, blah. I was no, what can I do that's going to get my stupid fucking self a little more attention on the internet right now, so that maybe perhaps I get asked to do more shows and I'm not just playing in front of one person, which I have plenty of experience with. And if that's going to be the case, I just will sit at home and do the podcast and comedy.
He also recommended 2 other 80s songs.
What else did our good friend Brad Birch, who I believe for Ohio, I think, I forget where everybody's from. I think Brad's from Ohio. But what else did he suggest?
Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Everybody wants to rule the world. Yeah, was that Tears for Fears?
Yes.
Because I think, though, that's a good song, but if I was going to do Tears for Fears, I would do the... like that could be such a dope. Bow now, bow now, bow now. You're walking in the world. It was in fucking Donnie Darko after they like humped. It was good. It's a good song. Tears for Fears is a great band. I mean, I guess maybe I couldn't be picky, but I still think I would do that one.
This one is his other suggestion is a bit hard on the voice. Take on Me.
Oh, I can do it. Not right now.
You can hit that note.
Yep, because my false.
Don't
Take on me, take me on. Oh, it's way. I can push it, not right now, but I actually can hit it in falsetto.
Yeah, I mean, you.
Without
Without warming up, I would prefer that you'd not even attempt it. So
no, I'm not.
Good deal.
No, but I can. I have done it in karaoke a few times. Probably, 20 years ago. Just when else would I have been doing karaoke? But like, it was a little drunken crowd pleaser that I could actually. I would just nail that top one doing a cover of that of Take On Me because they're like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And they're right, but I could at least get up there. So that was fun. So yeah, probably not going to do any of Brad's ideas. Love you, Brad. But no. What else we got?
Tim Silverthorne. He liked the Depeche Mode idea, but he thought you should do World in My Eyes.
Yeah, I don't even know what that one is. So... Look, I will not shit on anyone's suggestion that I do Depeche Mode. It's actually a pretty relevant... The guy's kind of got a low voice, and they're very electronic, and I'm like, yeah, that fits. It fits, and it works for me. You know, it's not insane. It's not like, do Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like, well, sure, we'd all love to be able to do that, but no. It's, like, ridiculous and impossible. But, yeah, I'm not as... familiar with that one, so you know what? We're just going to move on.
Johnny Gilbert recommended WAP.
And here's the thing about WAP. It does actually fit all the criteria.
It does.
Like, I will say that. The thing about it is, though, is it's just a little silly. And I almost feel like it would be better served for some sort of comedic. Like, not exactly for the goal I'm going for here, but like... So Alexis and I were in the car the other day, and we like should unplugged her, iTunes thing or whatever it is, which is like this Subaru Link. Fucking cars. It's like it's a car from like last year. Like, so they're complicated, and I'm an old man and I don't understand. But there was a commercial on. We ended up hearing a commercial because the thing got disconnected, and we were listening to regular radio, and it was someone using, I don't remember what it was a commercial for, but they were using My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard for like, it wasn't on the nose in the way that it was like a Dairy Queen commercial, but it was something. It was something, and it used to be like a slightly inappropriate song, actually, like back when like no one already would forget about this in like 2009 or whenever. It's like, oh, my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It's like, she's talking about her boobies. That's not okay. Or whatever. It was like a little risque. And now it's for something boring like ice cream sandwiches or actual milkshakes. Or it might even have been they changed it to like, my Febreze brings all the boys to the living room. The carpet doesn't smell too bad. It was something where it was like, oh, we turned it into a commercial. And I had the silly idea that, yeah, it's funny being older where time goes by. Because some people, that's their, like, childhood song. But for me, I was, like, already 30 years old. So I'm like, for me, it feels like it was yesterday. So it's not this weird thing where it's like, remember that song? I'm like, yeah, I thought that was, like, still on the, oh, right, that's old now. So I was like, pretty soon there's going to be... They're gonna, like it's so good. WAP is so controversial or whatever, but they're gonna use it to sell Swiffers. Right. It's like, don't need no mop or no bucket, got my wet ass Swiffer, and like that in like 2033, like that's gonna be my wet ass Swiffer. So the thing is that I can't do a straight up. It'll have to be a Weird Al cover where the gag is that I feel like I understand where commercials are going. It'll be like, and then that way, like, it'll go like the minute they really do that, and they will, it'll go viral then because someone will find it. Be like, hey, there was a guy like 11 years ago being like, God, don't need a mop or no bucket. I got my wet ass Swiffer. Like, what? How did he know? And I'm like, I didn't know. They probably stole it from me, and like someone made $1 million and I made 0. That's how it works. But yeah, so unfortunately, long, pointless story, long. I'm going to have to make a parody song of that and have it not do anything for my career at all. That's finally, but good hustle. I like where your head's at. You know what I mean? Yeah. What do we got next?
Brad Birch came back with Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy.
Brad, you can fuck right off. Let's go to another one.
That is a very bad song for multiple reasons.
Well, once my old band already covered it.
And then he recommended, after you told him no, he said, Log, it is.
No, Psycho Stick already did that.
Yeah.
And they only did that because we already did Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, which is clearly the... Like, if you're doing the Log song from Ren and Stimpy and people are like, that's an interesting choice, your only answer can be a more interesting band than ours already did the real song that you would do, which is Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy. Like, that's the money melon. And we done it. And they just had to go, well, let's pick something else. And nothing but love for everyone in Psycho Stick, except for, like, 3 or 4 of them.
This person named Alex is Wheeler?
Oh, okay. Bill's doing what is known in the industry as a humor joke.
Yes.
That the Russians use to keep warm in their space capsules.
Alexis recommended Dance Magic Dance.
And that is also a fine... It's too old,
It
but...
is a show tune.
And it is, but I also... Yeah, that was... I remember I actually looked into covering that with my 0, and I kind of dug into, like, you know, I don't know, how many notes and stuff there were in all the bass lines, and I was like, this is a lot. This is... You realize that it's like... It feels just like a cool David Bowie 80s song, but then you're like, this, again, it's like the score of Hamilton. There's always like key changes and things. You're like, I can sing it. Because I used to, and it's a good suggestion. Someone else actually also independently suggested it on a separate post. And I think it's because everybody, or at least some people were aware that, you know, when I was doing backup vocals and Blue Felix out, I was sound check by singing it. And singing it actually isn't that tough, but the thing is I would also have to produce, mix, and master all of the actual music in some sort of cover, and it's a lot. But special shout out to Alex is Wheeler. My baby, crying hard as babe could cry. What should I do? My baby's love had gone and left my baby blue. Nobody knew what kind of magic spell to you. Maybe I'll just do an acapella for slime and snails, puppy dog tails, thunder all lightning. The baby says, dance, dance, magic dance. Yeah, see, fun, right? But then there's like 5,000 notes on like the synth bass that I don't know what they are, and I'll have to figure that out. But you know what? For funzo onezos, and I'll have to stuff a sock in my underwear, but it might be a good cover.
All right, next we got...
I'm just going to sing for most of the podcast.
That's all right. All right. Charlotte Steinberg?
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that right.
Sure, why not?
Recommended Alpha Omega by Machine Gun Kelly.
I looked it up, and I gotta say, he's modern and everything, but that song, and I have nothing against Machine. People are like all shitty about him now, but his old stuff is just fun sometimes. But it's my least favorite kind of rapping. Not my least favorite kind of rap, even. It's not even the tonality of the music. It's just when everybody's like, I did this like I'm a that, and then that like a this, you know, and then this is how I did it, and I did it like a this, and all the references are just, it's like I fucked this girl like I had a football for a dick, and then like I was a tank who was shooting in her pussy, like I was Commander George, and like I was like a this, and I was like that, and it's like all these just similes that are just dorky, like, you know, and much love to my homeboy Jake Crooks, but like he would like on tour sometimes make us watch like rap battles, and I'm like, are you in 7th grade? This is fucking stupid. He's like, yo, your shit is weak like a guy that can't lift weights, and it's like my dick is big like a big thing, like a blimp, and it's just like, yeah, this is stupid. Like, this feels like it's for people who are in a single-digit grade. Like, that's all I can say. Like, could be 9th, could be 1st. Either way, I'm almost 42 years old, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm like this, and then it's like that, because I'm a tough guy. It's like I fuck bitches like I'm a guy that's good at fucking bitches. Like, yeah, that's so, like, I want to, like, lay down and do something else. Like, whatever. So, yeah, you know, good hustle on the modern, good hustle on the pop. I appreciate that. But I would feel just, like, I'm already embarrassed enough doing this podcast. I'm embarrassed doing stand-up comedy. I'm super embarrassed making music. But covering that would just make my penis go inside my body. Like, I don't even know how I would... it's cringe.
All right.
Cringe, the kids say? That's what it is.
It loses even more points because she thought this was a Blue Felix post.
I quit that band in, 2018? Like 2 years before COVID? Do you think I'm Jake? And even if I was, like, Jake wouldn't, like, I kind of made fun of him, but, like, his rap is better than that, and when he does covers, it's like Nutshell, like an acoustic guitar from, like, Alice in Chains or something something like good that I like too. Like, when he does that stuff, I fucking love it. So it's like Jake wouldn't go like, yeah, you know, it's like my dick is big, like it's a big thing people have in their house. It's large. It's like, that's lame. As much as we had to sit and watch like rap battles where it's like, that guy destroyed that guy, and it's like, he didn't even bring up his credit score. How cutting could this be? And that's when I realized I'm a little disconnected from the from like poor inner city youth that are in gangs, or the white kids in the suburbs that are pretending that are going to be millionaires at 25 because of their dad's business. I have nothing to do with either of those groups of people. That's shocking, isn't it? Oh my God. There's like 50,000 of these answers too. We're like nowhere close.
Oh, actually, we're more than halfway through.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, good. No one likes me. That's fine. That's really moving this along, because guess what? We're at 52 minutes.
A lot of these were just comments on top of comments.
Oh, yeah.
Call Me Maybe was recommended by Jason Kruger.
And Jason Kruger, who is Freddy Krueger's son-in-law. No, the motherfucking hawk at the Monday Night Comedy Show. Caw-caw. Who I saw recently, who has a play going on right now, which I would promote, but, you know, like, again, like 9 people listen to this, but something about capitalism. I want to go see it. There's been some ups and downs with this past week and weekend with me, and again, getting COVID, like, the worst part wasn't getting sick as much as how much of like, oh, I haven't mowed the lawn in 2 weeks. Like, the amount of just crap that built up from being a modern adult in our American society. I'm like, look at all this shit I have to do. I have to vacuum. I have to, like, do work. I have projects that I was like, I'll get it done, and then I got sick, and then people are like, when is this happening? I'm like, oh, shit. And whatever. So it's like, Jason, I want to see your... Isn't it weird just calling him Jason? Like, that's his name. But he's like, hey, Jason.
That is, who? It feels very uncomfortable, like not calling him Kruger.
You know what's weird, though? His name is Jason Kruger. Like, that's his real name.
Yeah.
Like, Freddy Krueger and Jason.
Yeah.
Like, together. Like, you're Jason, why?
It's not Freddy versus Jason. It's Freddy and Jason.
No, they got, like, married and had a boy. Mm-hmm. A good boy that we all love. Jason Kruger.
Oh, he's helpful.
He's very helpful. And, like, why are you the love child of Freddy versus Jason? Why did I just realize that right now? And you didn't make that up. Your parents were like, this would be fine. We want you to be a nerd. And they won, if that was their game. And I love that for them.
Yes.
And I love you. But Call Me Maybe, you know, was a popular new song, like, 15 years ago or something like that. But also, I don't know if I can do any better than the, people like to do those mashups where they do like Justin Bieber and Psychosocial from Slipknot or whatever. But like they did Head Like a Hole and Call Me Maybe, and my God, that fit. Dun, 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 head like a hole, got money, and call me maybe. Oh yeah, and then there was Rice Knot's skeleton version of that.
Oh, topical. Andre Athey.
He worked with. He was a roadie for Blue Felix for a while. I think.
Okay. He recommended Mr. Self-Destruct from Nine Inch Nails.
And that's the thing. Like anything from Nine Inch Nails, I would love to do. Just to stroke my own cock, like because I understand how to like recreate a lot of like. But, by the way, if anyone wants to hire, like, why would we hire John Wheeler to mix and master and produce this? It's like, okay, I can listen to an obscure old Nine Inch Nails song and figure out how they made everything you're hearing. I mean, you're like, why is that? It's like the Prestige. Like, no, he just bounced a ball and then he was over there. It was like, it's the greatest magic trick you've ever seen. It's just, it seems like a foregone conclusion. That's why My Zero did Terrible Lie. But I figured out that like the like at the end was a woodblock sample like through a certain kind of distortion pedal and stuff. It's like, how did you get that to sound exactly like? Did you find a rip of the? But no, I recreated those from scratch, and I just learned like what they did. And so like any Nine Inch Nails cover for me would be like super fun, and we'll get to it. But to give myself attention on the internet, it's not the move. I wish it was. I wish it's like all I had to do was like knock a cover of Closer out of the park. Because when you've been over here up late, and I've been like, let's watch the Woodstock '94, like Nine Inch Nails. And I'm like, God, listen to that, listen to all that cool stuff. I want to do that, and I do. I do so badly, but yeah, I don't know. A Nine Inch Nails cover is probably not my way to like get attention yet, unless I'm a bit more established as a solo artist, and then maybe so.
That's gonna knock out two more because Rob Mansell wanted you to do something off of Pretty Hate Machine, but in a Sailor Moon costume.
Of course he would, because see, that's silly and funny, right? He was playing bass for this thing called Heaven's Gate, where the singer went to jail forever for selling meth. But he spent some of that meth profit hiring me to do some of their music videos. But that's how I met him. And then Rob was like selling real estate or something. I forget. But then he would come to like Blue Felix shows. Like we kind of like would still talk here and there. Anyway, like there's no real funny story, but I should just point out that some of these names are people that I've interacted with in real life multiple times, and some of them are people who I'm like, who is that? But Rob, yeah. If you're going to listen to this, I'll give you the shout out of we have spoken in person more than once, and I can be a bit of a unicorn with that, I will admit.
And Adam Ellsworth recommended Closer from Nine Inch Nails.
And, wouldn't we all love to do that? I'll tell you a story about him when the podcast is off.
Right on.
So, or I'll let Alexis tell it.
Adrian Roberts, did I say that right? Adrian Roberts?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Recommended Running Up That Hill.
That got recommended by like about 9 people.
Yeah, a couple other people.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Maybe, because I know Stranger Things made it, and it would be a good searchable, you know what I mean? Like a good internet algorithm. Like that's a clever idea. And a band, see, this is the problem. I'm drunk and I'm slipping a little, like, Running Up That Hill. Like, who was the band? Ben was a fan of them. And they would, like, A Friend in Need. Placebo. Placebo did a cover of Running Up That Hill in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s or something. And they were that band that were like, a friend in need is a friend with weed, but a friend with weed is better. They're kind of like a weird goth, but not heavy industrial. They're kind of like a light goth thing. And I like them. And Ben, my friend, is a huge fan of them. But they had the first version I heard of Running Up That Hill was from them. And it was like, it was all creepy and weird, and it was like you could tell that it was more about heroin than about what Kate Bush was talking about, which was switching bodies with her lover, which is fascinating. That is what that song is about, by the way. If nobody knows, running up that hill, made a deal with God. She talks about, like, so you know that it doesn't hurt me. Like, she was getting dicked down so hard by someone so good and so in love with her or whatever that she wanted to, like, make a deal with God for them to switch their bodies so, like, he could feel what it was like to be her getting fucked by him. That's what that song's about. If you didn't know that, anyone out there, it's kind of incredible because, like, you have to be so deeply connected. Like, it's very romantic in such a weird way, but I feel like people don't know that that's what it's about. And again, Placebo's cover was kind of about heroin and stuff, but if you listen to what she's saying, yeah, it's like, so you know that it doesn't hurt me. He's just banging her the fuck out, and she's like, no, like, harder. I want to try being you doing this, but I want you to know how I feel because I like this. Sometimes you hesitate and you're a bitch. I want you to fucking no. Like, this is when I'm screaming that I want to die. It's, believe me, I'm not in control of myself anymore, and that's a positive thing. Like, whatever. That is a dirty, crazy, weird existential song. That was like kind of a cute pop song. Got covered by some '90s bands that made it into like a drug thing, and then it was on like Stranger Things. And Kate Bush is still very much alive, and there's been in interviews again talking about it. So it's like, I could cover it, I suppose. But I don't know. The only thing that, like, a male cover of that has really ever successfully been is something that's more about addiction. And I get that. But it's like, I've never been painfully fucked by someone so hard. Like, I mean, you'd have to have a pretty tight pussy to hurt me. Let's be honest. And, you know, so, like, I would like anything that because I have some options here. Anything that I am going to scream about, I do want it to come from sort of like a semi-honest place. Like, I'm not just saying anything that someone else wrote. And, you know, and again, you know, Dance Magic Dance. No, I could get behind that. Like, it's honest. It's a little too old. But I saw my baby crying hard as baby would cry. What could I do? Like, it's relatable. It's okay. It's fine. But I don't want to dig myself some weird hole where it's like, yeah, but, like, how does this relate to your life? I'm like, oh, no, it was on Stranger Things. Like, that's stupid. I mean, I get it. It's a good suggestion, and a bunch of people made it. And I'm for it. But I would also like whatever is coming out of my mouth to, like, have something to do with some sort of reality relating to my situation. And I've lived a long, wild, crazy, out-of-control life, so many things will. Except for that one. Like, I do the fucking that's very good. I've heard it many times, and it's like, but I'm not so filled with hubris that I'm like, I want to know what it's like to get fucked by me. I'm so good. I'm like, yes, I have an ego. It's not that big. So I wish I knew what it was like to get dicked down by me. You're fucking welcome. Like, just coming from the other side, it's not as cute as it is from her, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't set that precedent.
It's a very logical reasoning.
And gross and funny, hopefully. What else we got?
Chris Bricker recommended ABCDEFU by Gail.
And that's a good choice for a lot of reasons, because it's a very, 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 very new, modern, young person thing. If you, like, Alexis is, you know, listening to it, it's like a TikTok thing. But then also I wrote ZYQ9 years ago, which is ABCDEFG, bring me a conspiracy out of what they let you see, reverse in the psychology, and cultivate in you and me a feeling necessity to turn our animosity and holographic enemies. So it's like, it has a little bit of a connection to that. So, you know what? I think I'm leaning towards The Weeknd pretty hard, but that one is a good possibility. Except for I think she's just like, I don't love you, I only love your dog. And I'm like, well, I'm not actually a girl, so I don't, you know, care about people's dogs. Nor do I care about how much I don't love people. I'm like, I just, you know, get over it without writing too many songs. But it shows some understanding of the situation. So thank you.
Yep. D. Wyatt and Scott Hesselgrave both recommended Freebird.
Well, they can eat my dick.
Moving
on.
Johnny Horrorcore just recommended Billie Eilish.
And again, I like her. So there are songs of hers I would cover. And it's not a crazy thing to think that I might not. So Johnny Hardcore, who played with Blue Felix the other day, he came up to do the song with them. And we're homies. So maybe. Johnny, maybe. It's in the running.
Travis Taylor recommended Bury a Friend from Billie Eilish.
All right. A specific suggestion for the same. All right. I will look into that.
All right. That one's already been recommended. Oliver broke the rules by recommending This Is Halloween.
Yep, the one thing that I literally used as an example for how stupid those kinds of ideas are. Thank you so much. Who was that?
Mike Oliver.
Mike Oliver, yeah, someone I went to high school with. Thanks, Mike. That's great.
Charlie Milkey recommended Do You Think I'm Sexy by the Revolting Cocks.
Do you think I'm sexy? That's a cover, though. The Revolting Cocks covered that. And the Revolting Cocks is like Trent Reznor and some of the guys from Ministry. But that song was... No. Someone else was like, do Five Finger Death Punch's cover of Bad Company. I'm like, I'm not covering someone else's cover. That's a thing that, like a punk band in 11th grade does. Or like, we're going to play a punk version of Marilyn Manson's version of Sweet Dreams, and it's like, no one cares. This is stupid. Anyway, moving
on. Angela Higgins recommended Beyonce Break My Soul.
And Beyonce. Modern, new. I'll have to listen to that one, but that could very well be.
Apparently it's super current.
Yes, I think Beyonce just leaked or put out a new record or whatever. Right. Well, Angela Higgins also, her and Justice Draconis run the some of the like kind of bondage goth nights at like Ground Zero and stuff. So
I mutual friends.
Yeah. My Zero played a show at Ground Zero that her and Justice were hosting, and I knew that I kind of knew her, and she came up to me while I was getting ready and was like, I had a copy of Fun with Poop from SMB, and I just talked myself out of bringing it here for you to sign. And I was like, I would have. It wouldn't have been weird. You could have done that. By the way, Angela, if you still have that, I will just come over. If you're going to have dinner with Alexis and I'll sign whatever you fucking want. You guys can hang out. Like, yeah. She does the, like, aerial, like, silk, like, I will never be in that kind of shape. But she also knows good music and stuff, so I will take that suggestion fairly seriously.
Okay. Terry Wheeler recommended Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime.
And that's my mom. And that's a good suggestion, other than the fact that it's a little too old. But she can tell you that, I was born in 1980, and my parents at some point had MTV. We had cable on and off, depending on how everyone was doing. But she tells me that I loved the Talking Heads when I was like a little kid. Like they had like really weird videos on MTV, back when there was like less people doing it. I mean, the early 80s, it was like brand new. And I really like the Talking Heads, and I 100% believe her because I like the Talking Heads like right now. Like, yeah, I could see. Matter of fact, I'm proud of that. It's like when people are like, my first concert was Kenny G opening for the Backstreet Boys. It's like, yeah, you got brought there as a little kid. It's like, I was like 4. It's like, once in a lifetime, in the water. And I was like just sitting there like mesmerized in my diaper. Like I love this. And it's like, I love it right now. It's like them in Devo and stuff where I'm like, you can't call me a poser. I really gravitated towards some cool stuff when I was a little kid because my mom would just like leave MTV on. She's like, you loved it. You were just mesmerized by like. So yeah, it's that is a reasonable choice. Not quite new enough to really get me that sweet algorithm attention, but maybe for a live show, I would I would cover a Talking Heads song for sure.
All right.
But I would maybe do Burning Down the House. That might be what I would pick. Burning down the house. Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, anyway.
William David Vaughn
Okay.
recommended Gooey by Glass Animals.
Good for him. Who else? I don't know. Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Anything else from the current I should listen to?
Let's see.
I can't wait to put this out and then go through that list and like I'm gonna personally respond to everyone and be like, I mentioned you on the podcast. I mentioned you on the podcast, and they're gonna listen through the whole thing and be like, you fucker.
Another recommendation for Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Not a bad choice.
I think it's time for some Danny Elfman. I don't know what that is.
Danny Elfman. He's in a lot of the so like most Tim Burton movies. Danny Elfman did the soundtrack, like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, okay.
Like, but like lots of them, like other ones than just that, and also he was in Oingo Boingo. It's a dead man's party. Who could ask for more? It's a dead man's party. Leave your body at the door. Leave your body and soul at the door. Don't run away. It's only me. I'm getting too drunk to hit notes. All right. Yeah, but Danny Elfman, obviously, and it's like
Dead Man's Party, like
Dead
Oingo
Man's
Boingo
Party.
song?
Oingo Boingo. Yeah. That's Danny Elfman's band. That was his thing.
All right. That was
I mean, it's
a couple
dope.
of the songs like I was going to recommend were actually Oingo Boingo songs, but then I'm like, maybe not.
No, Oingo Boingo is Oingo Boingo, Mr. Bungle. Like there were those things that inspired younger me to be like, I'm in a band, which was the worst decision I've ever made. So thank you, Danny Elfman. Anyway, what else? Because we're at like an hour and like 12 minutes. We're like over.
All right.
And I don't care, but I just kind of wanted to see if we could get how far we could get through this.
Oh, all right.
But I'll start making my answers faster and shorter.
Okay.
How about
Ellie Moyer recommended the Indian band Bloodywood.
I don't know what that is, so we have to keep going.
Fantastic.
I'll look it up.
Also recommended Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys.
SMB literally already did that. It's a holiday in Cambodia. I do sound like Jalebi for a little.
Meredith recommended Britney Spears, Give Me More.
Give me more, give me more. Not a bad idea. A little too old, but kind of I like that Britney Spears song, so that's cool.
Bratley Gasser recommended Let Her Go by Passenger.
Okay.
I don't know how that would work.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care.
Okay. Fantastic. Septimus Fritz.
Yep. Also from Ohio, I believe.
Tone Loke's Funky Cold Medina.
That's not a bad idea. I do love that. Too old, but I do love it.
Little Peep's Witchblades.
I should get more into Little Peep, I suppose. I think he's dead. So he can't sue me. That's important.
Then Vipers, You'll Cowards Don't Even Smoke Crack.
I don't think I've read some of these. Like, even it's on my Facebook page. And I have no idea.
1997 by Sleepy Gorilla Museum.
Oh, Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
Okay.
They're amazing, but that is one of those things where they have the perfect storm of no one knows who they are, and it's too fucking complicated to make us like a fun little pop song out of.
Nick Lippert recommended When Doves Cry, which Toxic just covered.
And yeah. By the way, I really got to say, like, Jake, you don't listen to these, but I love your choice in, he's been getting into more, he's been getting paid to do, like, the live acoustic thing. And I like, again, like Alice in Chains and Prince and, his taste in it, perhaps it's because we're the same age minus, like, 3 weeks. So clearly we came up on a lot of the same stuff or whatever, but it's like I do love a lot of the things, and I fucking despise the acoustic guitar in general, but I like what you do with it. So it should mean a lot.
Christopher Rossing recommended Duran Duran Undone.
Yeah, Duran Duran, not a bad thing in general.
Leonard Cohen, Everybody Knows, which was one of the recommendations.
Everybody knows that like the game's been fixed. That's a very appropriate thing for me in my music career because it's been nothing but like screaming into the void about how everything's a joke. Like I made a whole record called The Process of Assimilation. Like, I mean, for fuck's sake. So I mean, Leonard, that's a good suggestion. Little old, but on the money.
Nancy Sinatra, Bang Bang.
Yeah, bang bang, I shot my. Yeah, that's been used in a lot of like a Tarantino and Rob Zombie movies that I like. That's a good choice.
Bill Marashi recommended Spooky Scary Skeletons.
Spooky Scary Skeletons. What a nerd.
I know. Travis Cameron recommended Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo.
Good for you, you're happy and healthy. You know the only thing I don't like about that song is that I misunderstood. She says you're happy and healthy or something like that. But I thought she said good for you, you're happy in hell. Like you fucked up so bad, but hey, you're just you know what I mean? Like the thrust of it I misinterpreted as being like a little cooler than it really was. Like, good for you, you're happy in hell. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, that's neat. I like that. But it's like, oh, you're happy and healthy and everything's good. It's bitter and not quite a weird existential sort of like, you're happy in hell. Like, it's like you made your bed and you've lied in it, but you actually like it because you're such a piece of shit. Like, I thought that's where it was, you know?
There's a few Pantera songs that I misunderstood, and I thought they were, like, way harder than they were, and then I'm like, oh.
It turns out it was just all white supremacy.
Right.
Or not.
Let's see.
All right.
Oh, man. That's a horrible suggestion.
What is it?
Oh, Dan Rao recommended you go on YouTube and type in top 50.
Thanks, Dan. And Dan was in Just Say As with me.
All right.
I haven't looked at I'm unaware of these. Like this thing just keeps getting.
Bryce Kalel, Master of Puppets from Metallica, because of that Stranger.
And not a bad idea. Yeah, I know. And Bryce is. I like Bryce. He's got reasonable ideas.
More Kate Bush suggestions.
Okay.
Cloud Busting.
That's fine.
By Sam Baker.
And yeah, hi, Sam. I'm going to go and comment everybody that we mentioned. Like, I mentioned you in the podcast. I mentioned you in the podcast.
Stephanie Kitty Groth. Wrong by Depeche Mode.
Yep, another Depeche Mode. At this point, I'm just going to go, hey, that's, like, great, but that's, whatever. I might get to these. Who knows?
Michelle Dawn, John the Revelator by Depeche Mode.
John the Revelator. Yeah, that's not even their... whatever. Anyway, what else we got?
Let's see. Felix Zalian?
Felix Exhalen. That's X. That's Chris.
Oh, all right.
He had one of his Facebook pages got taken down for some bullshit.
Exhalen, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so he had to like make up a weird name to go on there.
Yeah, he recommends Harry Styles, Beyonce, or Justin Bieber. So,
and that's
very broad.
It's broad, but that is honestly, if he feels that wasn't useful, it actually was, because it's like, oh right, because I forget who the dominators of the internet are in my old age. So
Raman Osuna III?
Yeah.
Recommended a horrorcore version of Every Breath You Take by The Police.
Not a bad idea. He was notorious for showing up to my Zero shows and stuff. I do know that. We haven't conversed much outside of that.
Cover... Brian Arthurs says cover FFDP.
Five Finger Death Punch. Move on.
Oh, yeah. Do that. Gretch in Faith No More.
And she goes to the Monday Night Comedy Show a lot. So it's funny. That's the weird amount of crossover.
All right.
Is that somebody that I only know from that is like, hey, do Faith No More, and it's not someone who's like an SMB fan for 20 years. So it's like, weird. Everyone comes to the same conclusions.
Bryce Cole came back with She Blinded Me with Science.
Yeah. Fun. Probably not, though.
Oh, Never Gonna Give You Up, Rick Astley.
I should rickroll some motherfuckers. I will give Psycho Stick that they rickrolled people live by covering it, and that was kind of funny. Actually, it was a little unexpected, and I appreciated that.
Pat Olson wants you to cover Don't Want to Fall in Love by Jane Child.
Not a bad idea. By the way, Patrick Olson was like the guy that he was one of the big 93X DJs here back in the day that had like the local show. Who was able to back when people would like listen to the radio, he kind of like helped make some bands bigger than they were about to be. But then by the time that we got kind of tight, it was like it was over anyway. All right, let's just cut this off. It's been so long. No, it's hour 20. This is literally the longest episode we've ever done, and we were just kind of listing stuff. And I realized that I'm just getting drunk and tired, and like the thing, I'm just hoping that people are watching it because our little background looks kind of neat, today. But we'll do it again. And, yeah, I will do another episode of the podcast. It's not just entirely about my sort of re-burgeoning little bizarre music career or whatever. But, look, I've been kind of isolated since, like, I had to, like, push so many things back from COVID. All I've been doing is working. Because I'm a freelancer and I work for myself, and everyone's like, that's the dream, but it's like, yeah, I work for myself, and the guy I work for is a slave driving asshole. And but then I also have clients that I gotta like get back to, whatever. So it's like it doesn't really matter. The end of this is a little bit too serious, but my music career is kind of like rematerializing a little bit. And if you got into this podcast just for me screaming about, I don't know even, what the fuck was this even about for the first, 18 episodes? I don't know. Politics? Motivate. Oh, right. Well, it's hard to do when you're talking about music because it's like the worst idea you can ever have is to try to have a music career, you see? But also, when it does go good, it's sort of almost proof that anyone can do anything because, yeah, it's like an impossible nightmare. And if I can make it happen, then you can probably become you can get your pilot's license and become a millionaire and buy your own island and do fucking start working for the Mossad or something, whatever you want. What I'm saying is, if you look at Jeffrey Epstein and go, well, when's going to be my turn? Soon, perhaps, because he's dead. You could take his place, and you could do better, and that's motivating. Or you could go, I'm a weird guy that makes, at the very least, his mortgage off of music videos and producing other people's records and mixing and mastering it, and be like, well, I want to do that. And it's like, you definitely can. You can probably do a better job than me because I'm very mentally ill and very easily distracted, to the point where I literally am overly focusing on asking everyone I know on Facebook what fucking cover I should do to get myself just a tiny bit more attention, so that perhaps everyone will listen to the song that I'm actually proud of. And then the best case scenario, it just backfires and everyone only listens to the cover and they're like, whatever. But you know what? If they do, I don't care. Because that's attention for me. And honestly, what's more motivating than narcissism?
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.